Hello there. I am a speedrunner in EU4, and this is going to be a kind of loose collection of random factoids or tricks that are commonplace in the speedrunning community, but for some reason have not yet really made their way out into the wider community very much. So, first things first, it is actually possible to completely ignore overextension by using the core creation cost modifier. You need at least 75%, which I've got here from my national ideas, admin ideas, a government reform, and 20% from Hindu. And basically, the way this works is CCR doesn't only reduce the admin cost to core provinces, but it actually also reduces the amount of time that it takes for provinces to get cored. So with 75%, we get it all the way down to 9 months. And since rebels can only tick up by 10% each month, it takes a minimum of 10 months to spawn any rebel stack. So if we can just core everything in 9 months, we can literally shrug off hundreds or even thousands, or technically even 10,000 plus overextension, all in one go without getting a single rebel stack. The game actually forces you to pay the maintenance costs for any fort that you occupy in a war. You'll basically pay one ducat for every single fort that you occupy, which can really stack up to quite a lot of money pretty quickly. So it's often worth holding on to at least one vassal, even if they're just an OPM, that you can transfer occupation of the fort to, which basically makes them pay those upkeep costs instead of paying them yourself. They'll never turn the fort off, even if they're going to go bankrupt, and then you can just transfer it back to yourself at the end when you're looking to peace out of the war. For some reason, a lot of people don't seem to know that the devastation causing you to lose a whole bunch of mandates as Emperor of China only applies to provinces that are in a state. So if I literally just unstate this, then suddenly I'm no longer losing all of that devastation. If I restate this, suddenly I am once again losing a whole bunch of mandate to devastation. So when you conquer a whole bunch of stuff and it has like 70 devastation, just don't bother stating it. This province has plus 11 unrest from separatism, but if I reform the Golden Horde, all of a sudden, this province will have absolutely no unrest from separatism because forming any country instantly removes all separatism from any cause you have. If you form any country that does not have unique national ideas for its tag, such as Greece, but you change culture, for example, here to Turkish, before you accept the new ambitions and traditions event, it will actually change which ideas you get. So here, I get the Anatolian ideas, despite the fact that I formed Greece, which gives me a tradition of 5% discipline and 20% core creation cost. Even if you don't have access to any formables like Greece, which have generic cultural ideas, it's still possible to pull off a similar trick to get those same generic cultural ideas by forming two countries in a row, even if they do have unique ideas. So here, I'm going to form Morocco, and I'm going to hold this event for new traditions and ambitions. I'm going to grab myself the Icta reform, which means I can form the Mamluks, and now I have two of these events. All I have to do now is swap my culture to whatever culture I want to get national ideas from. So here I'm going to do Turkish to once again get those overpowered Anatolian ideas. Then I just accept both events at the same time, and as we can see, once again, I have Anatolian ideas, not Mamluk ideas. Fun fact about aggressive expansion, it is actually impossible to incur any AE penalty with any country if you do not see their capital. So, for example, as Oirat, I don't see most of this because it's all under terra incognita. If I no CB Poland over here, it's going to give me a whole bunch of AE with Catholic countries, but if I switch to my AE map mode and then I clear the terra incognita, what you can see is yeah, I have AE with Poland and Lithuania and Venice because I see these guys' capitals in 1444, but everyone else around here, literally zero AE with any of these people. This is really very abusable because, as you can see, for Oirat and some of the other hordes, all of Europe, pretty much, it's only all of Western Europe, is all hidden under terra incognita, which means I could literally just blaze over here, conquer all of this, conquer all of this, conquer all of this, and have absolutely no AE with any of the people over here, which is, pretty nice for avoiding coalitions. Another very fun quirk of aggressive expansion and terra incognita is that it's actually impossible for a country to join a coalition against you if they cannot see your capital, because it locks them into unknown attitude, which means they can't perform diplomatic actions with you. Now, again, this is pretty nice for countries like Oirat or even Janzu or other folks in far-flung places where like here my capital is just in Mongolia, which means it's not really seen by almost anyone in 1444. So I have just declared a bunch of random no-CB wars on people to generate a huge amount of aggressive expansion. Like, look at this. This should be absolute instant catastrophic coalition because I've literally only got 17k troops. But I'm pretty sure if we let this play out a little bit, even though there are actually a few people up here, like Uzbek and Nogai, who do see me, which means they can coalition me, Chagatai as well. Basically, all of these folks cannot coalition me, and so we're going to get Mogulistan join, but it's super manageable. I can literally just declare on these guys and have absolutely no issues. So once again, very, very abusable for certain starts to do a lot of conquest without having to worry about coalitions. One of the most important things to understand when playing a horde is a concept called raising efficiency, which is really poorly known. This basically describes the relationship between the cost that you pay for land in terms of coring costs, war score cost, overextension, aggressive expansion even, and the amount of monarch points that you get when you come to raise those newly provinces. It might not sound important, but it actually makes a huge, huge difference to your monarch point economy in early game. So I'm going to make 2 peace deals here with Uzbek, where I take 100 war score each time. This is my bad raising efficiency provinces one, and as you can see, I've basically focused on taking lots of 111 provinces or high dev provinces, which have poor raising efficiency. So a lot of these I can't even raise, and then provinces like this, this one especially is 333 development. So when I raise it, it only goes down to from 9 development down to 6. So it still costs quite a lot to core, but I don't get that much mana for raising. This one's even worse. It's going to have 12 dev and only go down to 9. Same with this, yeah, 9 back to 6. And so I started with 100 admin, and I have literally lost my 100 admin just to core all of this stuff that I took. And I've got 258 dip and 298 mil points. Okay, so now let's compare that to this, which is a much better raising efficiency peace deal. I'm taking a little bit of money this time, which is a pretty nice, 130 ducats in the early game, definitely helps out, and much more raising efficient provinces. So what you'll notice is I've mainly gone after 222 development provinces, which means I can literally cut the development in half when I raise and then pay the absolute minimum coring costs. I've gone for these wherever I can. I have taken Kipchak as well, which is, I can take a third of the development off this, which is not too bad, and it's quite high development, so it's not end of the world. But yeah, mostly 222 wherever I can get it. Something like 322 or 221 is pretty good as well. And we can see the difference here. I have basically 200 admin more than I had with the other peace deal, 150 more dip, and 120 more mill points. So I've also got 130 more ducats as well, just out of the same 100 war score. So it really can make a big difference. Fun fact, it is actually possible to turn the speed of the game down to numbers that are below 5. You would be amazed what can happen when you play at a speed that actually allows you to process what's happening in your game. Hindu countries can give the Brahmins this privilege, which unlocks a decision to choose your personal deity a second time. This lets you pick whatever religion bonus you want, but you can actually change your religion while you have this event open, for example, to Muslim, and then pick, let's say, the CCR. And once you let a month tick, the bonus will not show up in your country modifiers, but if you actually go to the modifier itself, as you can see, I have 10% CCR from Shiva, which is supposed to be a Hindu-only buff, and yet, here I am, Muslim. If you have Korean primary culture, you can get a tier 1 government reform that gives you some kind of cool temporary buffs, depending on what your focus is, including core creation cost. However, if you select the CCR bonus and then change your government type to theocracy or republic via government reforms, you will lose the tier 1 government reform. However, you will actually keep the modifier until the end of the game, so you can get 10% permanent CCR for doing basically nothing except a government type switch. Hordes get plus 25% damage in any battle that takes place on flat ground. The game calls this a shock damage increase, but the game is lying. It applies in both shock phase and fire phase. And contrary to what some people seem to think, it applies to all units, not just cavalry. So nomadic infantry will absolutely smash anyone on flat ground. You do not need to waste your money on horses. If you have an explorer on a fleet, you can actually go to select mission, click explore, and then just choose which area of sea you want to explore, and you can even explore coast, which allows you to clear some terra incognita from inland provinces, instead of just clicking on the terra incognita to explore. This isn't even like a not known thing, but I just didn't know about this and literally found out that this UI even existed halfway through setting the world record for fastest ever world conquest, so I don't know, I felt like sharing. You can easily move your capital to the New World, even if you still have a lot of Old World provinces, as I do here, by just moving your capital to Bermuda, so long as you don't have any other provinces in the Bermuda state that you own, and then you can just freely move it into South America with no restrictions. The same also works with Falkland Islands, which you would have to then move it into North America afterwards, and the Galapagos Islands is the same as well. In fast world conquests where nothing gets colonized, you can use the Maldives, but you do have to unstate everything in Asia before you're able to actually move it into the New World. You can temporarily toggle on slacken standards just before clicking any sort of instant manpower, like Muslim piety or a mission that gives manpower, and it will almost triple the amount of manpower that you get from clicking the button. This works for absolutely everything except ICTA, which gives you manpower based on your subject's development. So even if I go and turn slacken back off, you'll see it gives me exactly the same 13,000. Religious zeal as a province modifier can be really inconvenient. It's technically possible to stack 100% missionary strength to overcome this, but it's not exactly practical, and this can very easily end an attempt at, for example, a one faith. However, if you release the province with zeal as an OPM, and then declare on it with the cleansing of heresy CB, you can simply force religion, which will convert the capital and the only province to whatever religion you choose and completely clear all zeal from the province. Light ships are kind of just a waste of naval force limit because you can't fight with them and protecting trade is pretty terrible, but that doesn't mean we should just delete them when the game gives them to us for free, especially at the beginning of the game. You can actually sell them, if I find the right button, to other countries for like 20 to 30 ducats each, which is potentially like 100 plus ducats in 1444 that you just get for completely for free, which is a pretty cozy cash injection actually. Final pro tip, if you make friends with u/little Elia on Reddit, then she'll give you loads of free EU4 help, so thanks to her for helping with this video.